when we start worrying, we're stressing. And then we put pressure on ourselves, and that's weight, and we cannot move in our purpose and our calling and what we are gifted with here, and how we're going to step into what we want for 2023 if we are carrying all this weight that we need to let go of.
Welcome to the Permission Slip podcast, where I, empowerment coach, mindset expert, and holistic nutritionist Carmen share with you the tools, conversations, and resources you need to write your own permission slip, take massive action, and become obsessed with your own life. Let's get started.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast. So this podcast is super special. It is part 2 of my event recap. So if you've been following along, or if you haven't, let me just share a little bit of what was going on and why I'm doing these event recaps. So back in October, I hosted the Permission Slip retreat, which is my signature expansion retreat for women who are ready to up-level all areas of their life, their business, their relationship, their health, their spirituality, and just really push themselves into that next level growth that they're really looking for. So we did that in Tulum, and that was at the beginning of the month, around the 8th. And then immediately after, I went to another event hosted by my friend Rachel Luna, which if you have not pre-ordered her book, I'm going to put it in the show notes. It's called Permission to Event, and it comes out in less than 2 months, but it's already a bestseller. That's how good this is going to be. And that's how good people are saying it is already. And if you know Rachel, like I do, it is going to be amazing. I ordered copies for everyone in Flow Academy that's going through the holistic life coaching certification track. So I'm just super excited for it. I'll put that in the show notes. Anyway, I attended her Confidence Activated event, which this was the last year for now of Confidence Activated, but it was so impactful. It was in Orlando. That was around the 15th of October. Then right after that, I attended the Empower Her event with Keisha. And if you love podcasts, you have to definitely tune in to her podcast, and she'll be doing the event again in Denver. She did it in Phoenix this year in October around the 22nd. And finally, after that, I ended my little road trip in Stockton, California with New Birth Christian Center Church. And they had a women's event that was called Gracefully Broken. Now, something that I do every year is I get a brand new fresh notebook. Like the notebook that I used this year for all of my notes is just one of those composition journals that you can get at an office supply store, right? It's $1, maybe even less. And I write down all of my important notes and learnings from that. So for my mastermind this year, from all of the sermons that I listened to on Sundays, from all of the events that I attended, things like that, I'm writing in this notebook because I go back and read them. And I do this every single year. And this is just something that is just so life-giving to me. It reinforces the things that I was looking to manifest at the beginning of the year and shows me how through my inspired action taking, those dreams do come true. You can co-create that with the spirit, with the universe. And it is just so magical. So this moment, I thought, wouldn't it be fun as I'm just recapping and reliving my experience with the event to just go through my notes with you and share my takeaways. Now, these are all of the golden nuggets. Okay, maybe not all because there's so many from all of these events, but many of the golden nuggets and takeaways that you can consider and get curious about in your life. Okay, without further ado, please excuse my voice. I actually have not been feeling that well for about a week. And so I really kind of put off this podcast trying to get back to a higher vibrational state for you guys for the podcast, because as you know, I want these podcasts to be so exceptional and you end listening to the podcast with takeaways that you can implement right away. And I know this one is not going to be any different. And so I don't want to ever show up less than that. So thank you for your patience on me getting you this part 2. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And I want to start with takeaways from Confidence Activated, which that was Rachel Luna's event. And she has everyone start her event, which I love, with setting an intention. So my intention that I set was be in my gifts fully, radiantly, and abundantly, and share it unapologetically, and be open to receive guidance and direction around where I'm not fully being obedient to this calling and this gifting. So a few of the takeaways from Rachel herself. One of the biggest things that Rachel talks about is financial freedom and talking about wealth and wealth building, especially for women. And the quote that I wrote down is, "This is your season that your first confirmation is your last confirmation." And the fact that many times we already know, but we allow the fear, the spirit of fear, to like be in us instead of trusting that we already know. And one of the things she talks about is the 3 different levels of like financial freedom. So the first one is financial stagnation, and that's living like paycheck to paycheck, maybe just having like a little bit extra, just kind of being in that energy of a slight scarcity mindset. And then there's financial flexibility. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, what stage am I at? And I'm really not quite yet to the next stage, which is financial freedom, but we're working on it. And that's really exciting to see that that's a possibility for us, and that we have a plan set in place to get from, we moved out of financial stagnation a while back, a long time ago, and into financial flexibility, which allows you to move, and you're not worried about where money's coming from, and you have a plan, but you're not yet to financial freedom. And so financial freedom is really where we are moving into. So kind of think about like where you're at. And for this upcoming year, do you want to move from stagnation to flexibility, and then from flexibility to freedom? And what is that going to look like? And what is that going to take? Another thing she said is, be willing to tell people about the big things you've done, like no one has ever heard it. And oftentimes we think that we shouldn't say the things that we've done that are amazing, the things that God has put in us, and like that we've, brought to fruition by being obedient to the things that are on our heart and the things that are being asked of us. But why not? Why not share that? Because you know what it's going to do? It's not going to be like you're just being boastful. It's going to be showing someone that there is a way. Like you're going to be so aspirational and inspirational, and it starts expanding what's possible for people. And we all need those expanders in our life. So that was some of the things that Rachel talked about. I do have a couple of other notes for the next day on something that Rachel talked about that I really liked. And this is a little tidbit from her book. So the Offender Identity Framework. And are you in your high truth or your low truth? Are you having a high faith or are you having low faith? Some people are ready, but they're scared. Can you stand in the gap for them? Right? Can you stand in your highest truth and your highest faith to be that like influential expander for somebody else? And I loved what she said about sales being a form of service, and to stop making it about yourself. Because realistically, we're all here and we can all make money by using our gifts, and it actually impacts and it serves the world. So I loved that a lot. One of the speakers was a pastor named Pastor Courage Molina. And she questioned us on what labels have you come into agreement with? And this is something, that I always talk about, is like those labels that we put on ourselves, they just build false beliefs that hold us back. And then she mentioned that faith is a maybe that will move something. You don't have to have certainty. All you need is a maybe. And so if you can trust in that maybe, that even if you can't see yet that like that end result, then you can move and you can take inspired action and you can really start seeing those things come to fruition for you. I loved that. I love that so much. Andrea Crowder then spoke at Confidence Activated, and she uses a therapy technique called rapid resolution therapy within her WAP, so wealth alignment patterns. And she talks a lot about how things, especially about money, are like really rooted in fear. And being able to feel safe in our bodies and just trust our own bodies, have fear, recognize it, clear it, and then walk in your power. And it was really an amazing practice because it sounds really simple, but so many of our decisions are rooted in fear, and we're not even aware that the fear is there. So if you can actually feel the fear, recognize it, move through and clear it, and then step to the other side of it, that's how you can start transforming it and moving even faster and faster and faster. Let's move on to Miss Patrice Washington. And she is just such a gifted speaker and motivator. And she talked about the 3 tips to give yourself permission to be wealthy. And I love her definition of wealth. And it is actually like an old school definition of wealth that she always shares. And that is just this: the condition of well-being. So aren't we all like destined to be wealthy then? If it's just the condition of well-being, we can like take it off the pedestal and we can claim it as our own. And the 3 tips that she gave were really permission to stop rehearsing unsupportive programming. So being willing to address that programming that we have that's not supportive of the person that we want to be. The second thing is permission to plant yourself in new spaces where people are having elevated conversations and really get like rooted in that community, and normalizing releasing people with dignity that no longer serve us in this season that we're stepping into. And then the last one she said is permission to redefine wealth for yourself, and whatever that might look like. And I know for me, an important exercise to do is to just see like, what is that number that I need to bring home just to be comfortable, just for us to live comfortably, and really go make sure that we're going after that. However, do have that bigger vision, that bigger dream, that bigger goal. But the plan is always to make sure that we are living where we want to live, where we feel so like super grateful and we can still do all the things that we want to do. And then everything on top of that goes into investing, goes into savings, goes into reinvesting into the business for an opportunity to serve even more. And I love that Rachel reminded us that every single day you delay sharing your gifts, raising your prices, speaking up, investing in your future, you're stealing a breakthrough and a transformation from someone else. I'm just going to read that again. Every single day you delay sharing your gifts, raising your prices, speaking up, or investing in yourself, your future, or your business, you're stealing a breakthrough and transformation from someone else. And God's always going to give you a vision, and He's not going to give you a vision without a way. And all you have to do is be willing to step into that. to fully step into that. Another speaker that she had was Tiffany Montgomery. And I am just always so moved by her faith, by her anointing. And it's just so magical when she is in the room. And it's really just, it's hard to even put it into words. But one of the things that she talked about was the gift of discernment. And I think we've all lost this gift a little bit. We all look to outside external sources instead of going in and just like asking our own self, our own inner knowing, and sitting and being still and sitting with spirit around it. So if we can get really clear and in the discernment of where we are in this season, then it'll make things happen with so much ease. So maybe the season that we're in is waiting and waiting well. Sometimes we really need to wait. That doesn't mean that we're not taking action, but we're waiting. Then sometimes we're in a season where it is like we are going to show up and we are going to take it by force because we are so clear. We've been taking the inspired action. We've been preparing. We've been building the foundation. And now it is our time to go, to claim for yourself eagerly. To possess by force means to possess by faith. And there's different seasons. And so it's so important to figure out that season that you're in. And I also loved hearing from my beautiful friend and mentor, Lindsay Schwartz. And she talked about the importance of community and how business is changing. And I know in 2023, she's actually offering a mastermind just once right away at the beginning of the year, all about community. Because people will follow you if you're willing to lead yourself, she says. And there are many types of community, but if you think about it, it's like the community you impact and the community that you collaborate with. And how can you use those communities not only for your own personal growth, but also for your business growth? Because that's really the future, what she talked about, of business. And I'll make sure to put in the show notes if you're interested in learning more about how you can use building community for personal growth and business growth, really to grow your business to the next level. You can shoot her a text message and you can get all the information to learn more about what she has upcoming next year. So that was it for Confidence Activated. But I just can't help but go back to what Rachel said. And I just want to share it again. Every single day that you delay sharing your own unique gifts, because each of us have unique gifts, or investing in yourself, or speaking up, or taking that next step, or raising your prices, charging your worth, you are stealing a breakthrough and transformation, not only from yourself, but from someone else. Okay, now let's go into the Empower Her recap, which I'm so excited to share with you as well. One of the speakers that we heard from was Trent Shelton. And if you've ever heard him speak, he is so powerful. And the thing that really moved me was less about what he said, although I have some takeaways and I'm going to share those with him, but how he moves and how he operates. He just allows spirit to speak through him. He is just so divinely led. He even had an injury like to his leg or knee, ankle, something. I can't remember exactly what. So they brought him a chair and he intended to sit down, but he was so moved by what he was saying. He stood up almost the whole time, even with the injury that he had, like really delivering this message. And one of the first messages that really hit home for me is yesterday's points will not win today's game. And oftentimes, this is one of the biggest areas that we can self-sabotage ourselves, is we work so hard to achieve a goal and we get there. And then it's like we just let loose and let everything go. We let all the discipline and the systems and what we did to get to that goal go. And it's like we're right back into the place that we were at previously. And so I want you to consider where you've done that in your life. And I want you to consider the next time you reach a goal or a milestone, how can you keep those behaviors, those thoughts, those disciplines, those systems in place so you can keep moving forward and not moving backward? He said oftentimes there's three types of people: the wisher, the watcher, and the worker. And it really all just comes down to consistency. What are you consistent with in your life? What do you want to be consistent with in your life? What would make the biggest difference if you were consistent with one new thing over the next year? What would that one thing be that you could really move the needle on all areas of your life, of your business, of your growth? And where can you start taking off your armor? Letting your guard down, letting your authentic truth shine through more. Because realistically, your transparency leads to your transformation and the transformation of others as well. And he reminded us that life is not about what happens to you. It's about the meaning you give to it. And life is not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. And life is not about what happens to you. It's about how you use what happens to you. So protect your peace and guard your life. Chris and Lori Harder also spoke at the Empower Her event. And one of the things that I totally agreed with Lori on for sure is making sure that we're having a good amount of pressure behind our goals. And I don't mean the type of pressure where we're trying to measure ourselves to some societal standards or have a huge emotional attachment to the outcome, but having a pressure and challenge that you can wake up each day and it makes you uncomfortable because you have to take some steps that you're not comfortable with taking. And she reminded us that challenge is a requirement to evolve, but so many of us are avoiding it. So figure out your fears and kind of learn how to support them, how to walk through them. And one of the ways is building your network and then learning how to use it. And when you're asking yourself, what do I need to get started? It's never a what, it's a who. And I was like, that was so juicy. Because I know for a long time, especially in my business, especially in my health, like I just was like white knuckling it, trying to do it all alone. And yeah, that grit and that hustle can take you so far, but you're going to get maxed out. And really where your skill set ends is where your network begins. And we all have to have a network in order to get to that next level. You're just not going to be able to make it without it. And I love that my beautiful friend Aisha Marshall spoke as well. And she talks all about like cocoon season versus butterfly season. And you know how I was mentioning from Rachel's event that we all have different seasons, and having the discernment of, are we waiting well, or are we taking with force and faith what's meant for us? Because there's time to prepare and time to build a foundation and then time to just go for it. And Aisha said, what got you to the cocoon is not going to get you into the beautiful butterfly season. And creating a vision, creating space in your mind and space around you is so important. The clutter around you is a manifestation of the clutter in your mind. And I wholeheartedly agree with that 110%. Tracy O'Malley, who is an Enneagram expert that also partners with us in Flow Academy. She does a huge blueprint on everyone in Flow Academy with the Enneagram. And one of the things she says is, good news is you have a choice. Bad news is you have a choice. What kind of choices are you making? So good news is you have a choice. Sometimes the bad news is you have a choice, right? And let's learn to use our discernment to make choices that are aligned with our highest vision, our highest self. And then beautiful Jamie Krim Lima spoke, and oh my gosh, she is just a force, just a force. And she got so many no's when she was starting her makeup company. If you haven't read her book, like, get it 110%. You should read it cover to cover. And she says, you might receive a no, but God gives you a knowing. Which one are you going to turn the volume up on? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Because we are going to get no's. No's could just mean not right now. Or no's could be God's redirection to something even greater. And don't take yourself out of your own potential. She reminded us of that. It's easy to see in others, but it's difficult to see it in ourselves. And we have to start turning down the volume on doubt. We have to stop hiding in plain sight. Rejection is God's redirection. Rejection is a reminder of how brave and courageous you are. And it's God's protection as well. Maybe you're just not ready for it. And so she challenged us with this question: what is one way that I am hiding in plain sight, allowing self-doubt to take over? So that's something you can sit with in your next journaling session. So that question again was, what is one way that I am hiding in plain sight, allowing self-doubt to take over? So that was the recap of some of the golden nuggets from the Empower Her event with Keisha. Now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the Gracefully Broken Women's Conference with Newberg Christian Center in Stockton. And I really loved one of the speakers. Her name was Kristen Smith, and she talked about being fluent in faith. And she gave us the definitions. And, I love wordsmithing of fluent and faith. So fluent, capable of movement with ease. Faith, a spiritual force, something that's within, but not in our minds, but it's within. And if you can get fluent in faith through prayer, meditation, obedience, so like taking the steps, when you get those little nudges and you're like, oh, should I do that? Instead of like what Jamie Kern Lima said, instead of sitting in doubt and turning up the volume there, let's turn up the volume on faith, because God's ears perk up when he hears his language. And God prunes us because he wants us to produce more fruit. And one of my favorite quotes, I believe I've already shared this, and it's so timely right now as we're visioning and planning and dreaming for 2023. Speak what you seek until you see what you said. Speak it like it's been done. Declare it done. When you decide what you want to go after in your life, declare it done. Give thanks that it is done over your life, and then let go of the how and the when, and just think about what is that next step that I can take to get there. The more faithful and obedient you are, the more powerful your prayers will be. And oftentimes we limit God to what we can see, and he is limitless. So co-creating with spirit, co-creating with the universe, it's really limitless. And oftentimes we want to see proof. We want certainty. We want the answer right away. But that's not how it works. That's not how big dreams and goals come to fruition. You set them with so much faith and hope and belief, and just start taking the next small step. And at the conference, they also talked about the reminder of having that scarcity mindset. When I talked about, Rachel talked about the different levels of financial freedom. So stagnation, flexibility, and freedom. And it's just a reminder that paycheck to paycheck living is a representation of our. So do you have a low faith or a high faith? When you have more than enough, you can give more than enough. So how can you step into that and believe that for yourself? And then Michelle McDonald spoke, and she had so many nuggets. But this is the biggest one that I want to leave you with here. The breaking news is everyone is going through something. There's not one person on this earth that's not going through something. While there's something is different, but in order to deal with something, we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge it, and we have to be aware of the thoughts, attitudes, actions, and feelings that are arising for us, because more often than not, we already know the answer. We already know the answer. It's already there. It's already within us, but we're built with so much self-doubt and fear that we can't hear it. We can't see it. And then Brittany Ware spoke, and I loved this. The whole idea was to press in. Press in. The grace of God is really the love and faith of God that we all have inside. Stress is the worry. Pressure is the weight. We can't move right in purpose because of the weight. So often we're carrying things that we should not even be carrying, and we're worrying about things that we shouldn't even be worrying about. So when we start stressing, when we start worrying, we're stressing. And then we put pressure on ourselves, and that's weight, and we cannot move in our purpose and our calling and what we are gifted with here. And how are we going to step into what we want for 2023 if we are carrying all this weight that we need to let go of? So put down your mask and pick up your crown. Ask for what you want. Be specific. Declare it done over your life. And stop trying to do it all on your own. We cannot rely on our own strength. We need the strength of spirit within us. And we also need the strength of other humans around us. So that is my recap of the 3 events. And I would love to hear from you, like, what little nugget was the most impactful for you? And I also want to give you an update, because you all know that in-person events are my jam. Next year, I'm going to be giving out a ticket every quarter to in-person events that I know are going to impact you in a hugely transformational way. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted to give you some date updates to mark on your calendar and some invitations already to join me at in-person events in 2023. So first up in Tampa, Florida, my new friend, Brooke, that I just met, Hemingway, is holding the Align Limitless event. I have a discount code and the link to get your ticket in the show notes. It is June 19th through 21st. Come attend with me some of these amazing speakers that I just shared about. So Trent Shelton, Patrice Washington, Rachel Luna. Oh my gosh, they are going to be there. And so if you liked any of the vibe of what I shared, like, you want to be in this room. So that is the first one. If you are local in the Miami Beach area, I'm hosting just a free, well, it covers the cost. It's like $20 to attend. It just covers the cost of your supplies, but you're going to leave with a vision board. So I'm doing a free vision board event. Okay, $20. You're going to get, it's at Delicious Raw in Miami Beach. You're going to get drinks and snacks and walk you through my process of visioning and planning. And then you're going to leave with an actual vision board that you can take home. Then upcoming for the permission slip retreat this year, and these are not quite locked in, but almost all the way locked in. The first retreat I'm holding is a VIP only retreat. So if you've attended a retreat before or worked with me in a group or one-on-one coaching session, you will be getting an invitation to this. It is it's going to be almost like application only. So it's going to be the most amazing women in this room. And that is going to be April 5th through the 8th. And then we'll be doing a full permission slip retreat, which again is really only going to be limited to the first 20 women. And that is going to be September 27th through the 30th. And lastly, Joel and I are looking at doing a couples expansion experience this year. And so all the links for the waitlist for all of these, so you can be the first to know, because you don't want to miss out. So if you and your couple want to get on the same page, if you want to be around other couples that are doing growth things with their life, with their business, with their relationships, and you want to have an amazing experience and experience some things together that you've never experienced and with other amazing couples, then this is for you. All of that is going to be in the show notes. And so I definitely want to see you at one of those in-person events this year. Oh, so I hope you loved this recap. It was so fun for me to put it together for you. And don't forget, if you think that this podcast helps somebody else, please text them the link. And if you haven't left a rating and review for a while, please do that in iTunes, because that's how more people will be able to listen to the show. So thank you so much for listening. I am forever grateful for you, and I will see you next week.